This is what 500 meters felt like for me when the pool temperature was 2.1 degrees Celsius. So going into the event, I was really nervous. Previous to this event, the longest swim I'd done in this kind of temperature was just 50 meters. So going into an event that was 10 times that length, I had all these thoughts, like whether my body would kind of handle it, whether my mind would handle it, if I was strong enough to both push through the pain but be smart enough to stop if I felt really panicked. Going into the 500, I decided to really rely on my visualization, which is something that I use a lot for racing. For an event like this, I know that my biggest struggle will be trying to relax in that cold temperature. So I had this idea of this like golden fiery ball in the center of my trunk, and that was kind of this cue that I could focus on, both to breathe diaphragmatically and focus on bringing that air deep into my body, staying relaxed, and then just imagining that all those vital organs are warm. Regardless of what happens, the fingertips and the toes are going to get very cold. If I got an ice cream headache, the strategy was to flip onto the back. And I'm really surprised my head didn't get too bad. I actually did bring the cap like right down to the bridge of my nose, and that was basically to give myself as much insulation as I could, and I do think that worked. Let's get into the race. We were told to get into the water, and straight away, using my same strategy, I'm submerging the face and just taking that extended exhale, moving into the parasympathetic nervous system, taking control of those kind of runaway thoughts about it being a bit too cold. When we started, I felt really strong. I didn't get any ice cream headache. And when I pushed off for 150 meters, that was when I definitely noticed myself slowing down. On reflection, it's actually quite funny because my stroke rate dropped significantly. But that was probably a mix of the cold environment, but also my conditioning. I've actually been primarily focused on sprint events this year, and my mileage when I train, I swim mainly 25 metres and 50 metres at a go. I can't actually remember the last time I swam more than 200 metres consecutively in a training session. So I'm actually not conditioned for endurance events. So after the 100, I did notice, what was it mainly? It felt like my fingers were like frozen long, like I couldn't flex them, which is better than having them like clawed over. So in the day previous, after the 50 fly, I did feel a little bit like my fingers were in flexion. So I was actually quite glad, even though I felt like they were freezing straight. What I was probably most proud about in that 500 was I felt 100% in control of both my breathing and my mind throughout the event. There were fleeting thoughts about, the fear around how cold those extremities were getting, but at no point did I feel unsafe. But I tell you what, when it got hard, especially after 300 metres, hearing people cheering, because we're touch turning, so you can quite audibly hear those cheers, it added a whole nother element, and it genuinely made that event easier. Every time I turned, there were these big cheers and I could hear the crowd going, and it's just testament to the sport. We've got some really cool people that just want everyone to have a great and a safe experience. So I've never really noticed how much of an impact those supporters can make, and it was really quite cool because after that, once I'd recovered, I came out on pool deck and I was yelling for everyone else because I knew how much of an impact it had made for me. When I did see the splits at the end, I was surprised by how much slower I got. So I think, swimming a 45-second 50, it is quite a lot slower than I would swim normally. There is a touch turn to make it slightly shorter, but very, very interesting. I think my 3 big takeaways from 500 metres in 2.1 degrees are the absolute importance of your mental game. I had that vision of that warm ball in my centre, and that was just that key I needed to keep the breathing deep, keep it efficient, and also knowing that the centre of me is warm. The second key point is how much support matters, and having those people yelling on the side make such a difference. And thirdly, it's just exhilarating, like to get out and be like, we swam half a kilometre in that pool. That was a huge takeaway, and I think just the confidence from seeing what your body can do and how much you can push yourself has been a really, really exciting journey. So let's see what happens for the rest of the week, but that was an awesome 500 metres.